Welcome everyone to our second day of Bookseller Summer Camp. We're happy to have you here. If you were able to join us yesterday for Christina Baker Klein and Larry Watson in conversation, I hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was really something really great. It's always so great to see to have two books that really have nothing to do with each other, but to find those commonalities. And I thought Valerie did a wonderful job hosting. The video of that event is live now on mountainsandplains.org, so you can find watch the event if you missed it. Tomorrow, just to be aware, we'll be doing our Up Your Online Marketing game, which we'll be talking about websites, social media, and email marketing for your bookstores. So join us for that. That's sponsored by Shelf Awareness, and one of the Shelf Awareness email experts will be joining us, Christiane. We also just put registration live for our Macmillan editors next Thursday. So there's lots of stuff happening next week. So check all of that out, and then you can register for the Macmillan event. As I said, we have our Bookseller Summer Camp t-shirts that just have been shipped. So you can get an order in right now for the next batch to be shipped if you want a t-shirt. And they're very inexpensive, but all the proceeds go to Bink. So with that out of the way, I just want to say thanks to Franklin Fixtures and to Lisa Urich for being here today. We're very excited about our education today. In this crazy time, how to rock safe bookstore operations. So I'm going to just turn it on over to Lisa for the presentation. Thanks very much. Put your questions in the Q&A, everyone.
Thank you, Heather. This is so exciting to be at summer camp. I haven't done that for many years. And honestly, it's hard for this year to feel like summer camp, but there are some fun moments and we grab them. I changed the title to say how to rock safe bookstore operations in the now, because I'm not sure what to call right now, but it's now. And I know some things about it that we all desire to bounce back and to make up some lost time that we've had this spring and that we're still having, and to see a bounce back, and we want to be so many good things. I'm always about grabbing the things you want to build on. And we have seen so many good things this spring. I think every person I've talked to, despite the difficulty and despite all of the hardship that they've been through, there's been a clarifying of things that we're going to build on from a physical space kind of thing. You are the safe zone. You are the place. How heartening it is to watch that happen in every circumstance during this spring. And you're still creating community. We're creating community. Summer camp creates community. So I love that. And I also understand that our needs have a hierarchy when we're talking about fixtures or when we're talking about our physical spaces. I think we're here. We're all familiar, most of us are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the idea that safety and security needs, physiological needs have to be met first. And then you can move on to safety. And then you can think about things like love and belonging and who am I, all the way up to living your best life. And I think circumstances like this kind of take us back down to the orange zone, and that how do I survive this week? How do we make it next week? This is what keeps us on the phone with the SBA every day since March 19th. But we're finding things. So I'm very cognizant of that. And as well, another piece of context that we're not seeing our concerns in the same way, whether there's a whole bunch of things in the ether that I don't have to explain, but just knowing that we're in an environment where even our families don't see things the same way, and our friends and our communities, it makes it hard, and it may not change everything, but it certainly impacts everything. At our work, we're working in masks, and we're working differently. We're teaming differently. We're working on individual tables, and in your workspaces, you're merchandising differently, and sharing experiences differently, and doing all of that in a context of reduced sales and financials that are difficult and things that are distracting and dissonant. And you're doing beautifully. You're really doing beautifully. So I want you to think about, first of all, congratulate yourself for being here right now, because I recognize that is tough. Second, I'd like you to take a piece of paper and use this opportunity. Give yourself the gift of thinking about something that is not in the urgent and important box, but something that's important and maybe not urgent this second, but will be urgent for the viability and of all that you intend to do. So take a piece of paper and draw your space, or at least be prepared to make some notes about your space, because this is about you and your space. And I'd like, by the end of this hour, for you to be able to take at least one thing, just one, anything else would be overwhelming, one thing that you can do that's going to change the way you're thinking about your space or the way you're working. We're sort of pushing 3 workshops into one. As I looked at this, I thought that's a heck of a lot of content. So I'm going to go kind of fast. So I hope you do lots of chats and lots of questions. There's 3 big things that we're going to cover. We're going to cover the care model of store renewal and refocus. So this is really about the bigger art of what we're doing and how we're doing it together. Then we're going to talk about 4 fixture superpowers and look at what you have and how you leverage that better. How you make your silent sales force more effective in this moment, because you need them to work differently, and you need them to work really, really well for you. And of course, we're talking about safety and in approach, touch points, and service. So 3 different aspects of safety from a physical standpoint, mostly, which creates mental safety too. So the care model is there's 4 steps of crafting a space, a thank you space, aligning with staff and customers and community, doing storytelling with rigor, and bringing purposeful about the energy that you're bringing into the space. The other section about shelves, tables, wall systems, and mobile units, those are, think of them like 4 transformers or something, like 4 superpowers. Every time you see that little guy, you'll be looking at a fixture that you probably have or have something very similar to, and how you can really supercharge that thing. But let's start with this 3 areas of safety focus that are so important. Approach and flow, touch points, and service. So we're looking at 3 aspects. Talking to a friend last night who is in her late 60s and has had cancer and a really rough time of it, and she's a big book reader, and I said, what will bring you back to the store? And she said, nothing. And I thought, well, that's not very hopeful. But I asked my daughter-in-law, who's, we have a family that works with the CDC, and actually my daughter-in-law's sister has been working for the past decade as a leader and studying COVID. And I said, what will bring you back to a store? And she told me some of the exact things that we're going to be covering here. One of them is, we'll go quickly, it's about brand. Very quickly, my colleague Joy put together a new brand look for us. She did it in a very short order and without any expense, but I was inspired by the iconic ones because it signals that we're doing things differently. And so I want to do this throughout the hour, do a thought stop for you and ask, how is your brand reflecting the current concerns, the things that you're concerned about right now? How is your brand indicating that this is a different moment? Because that's a beginning. The other thing that my daughter-in-law Nisa said was that the approach she decided after much pleading by her husband and her 2 boys that they could safely go on vacation to Amelia Island if they did a number of things to keep themselves safe. And one of them that was inspiring to her was Donna Paz's story and song. She went online, she saw all of the ways that they're working to keep staff and customers safe, and the way they were talking about safety and being purposeful. It just gave her so much confidence, not only about going to the bookstore, but about having this whole event. And I think that's within our grasp to really be purposeful about our language. Something that you guys have been doing so beautifully is changing how you offer, this packaging of things, curbside pickup, and what Pages is doing, with these personalized little bags and such. You created a whole sub-flow, and I want to talk for a second about how maybe we can use this moment to be more efficient in that flow by introducing something called the 8 Waste. In manufacturing, we use Lean Six Sigma 8 Waste, and you can Google this. I've got a resource connect. But this is really a way of just creating continual improvement. So however this is working for you, it can probably work a bit better. If you look at any one of these 8 things, but all of them, defects, those are things, anything from taking a number down wrong, and having to repeat a credit card number or a piece of information, or rewriting it a second time, or just getting things incorrect. That is a waste that we want to figure out how to avoid. Or focusing on overproduction. It may feel really productive to make a whole bunch of something, or to order a whole bunch of something, but if you order or make a whole bunch of something, the world is changing so fast, and we can end up with waste. Wasted time waiting for the next step on a process, waiting on hold, waiting on, there's all manner of those. We've got transportation down there, and we all recognize that one as a waste, as well as inventory. You want to look at fast-moving inventory, and things that you don't pay for until you need them. Motion, unnecessary movement. No one's willing to pay for us to move around. They want to pay for a book. They want to pay for an object. And extra processing. Anything that's done that gets undone. Even from rubber banding around a book, and that gets taken away. If there's a way to do that without the rubber band, if there's a way to do it without this extra process, more work or higher quality than is required. And I left out non-utilized talent. Dave and I have discovered during this period the Clifton Strengths, Clifton, Clifton Strengths, and it's a beautiful way of looking at people with a whole new lens and saying, what are your 5 big strengths, and how can I feed them in this moment? Some examples here, waiting for meetings and people. If you take 15 minutes and you take these 3 things, waiting, inventory, over processing, with your team, 10 minutes, you'll come up with 5 or 10 great ideas that will save you immediately and help you carve a little more space for a little more sales, or a little more effort, or a little more of the things that you want to do. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time getting to everything every day. So these kinds of improvements, I'm surrounded by people who want to improve constantly, and these kinds of improvements just kind of chip away at getting some extra space. So thought stop for your situation. Where would you like to get help now? Would you like to think about waste elimination in packaging online orders, serving in-store guests, back of the house prep, merchandising and stock replenishment? Think about that, and if you pick one area, one thing you'd like to get more efficient in, and use those 8 ways, can really help. If you want to look at more of that, it's free all over the place on Google, but I picked Leanpedia, and a link there for you to look more at 8 kinds of ways. Let's go on into the store and the approach in the store. As you think about your physical store flow, one of the things that we're looking at is creating that clean, uncluttered sense, like here at Barrington Books Retold. You get this idea of breathing when you walk in, and you feel like, or I feel like, I could walk through safely, and that it can be maintained in a good way. You've done it on your website. You've said you're being careful. You've created an expectation. Now, creating that disinfectant regime on all the touch points that are outside, like arriving, the handrail, I go into 3 different grocery stores, and they handle this differently. And I know I feel really safe in one and not so much in another. Think about your experiences with that and how you want to translate them. How do you signal safety? The floor plan has always mattered, our flow. And if you take your piece of paper that's in front of you and you draw the flow that happens in your store right now, what do you expect people to do? We've always said planograms matter. We've always said that, mapping the flow matters. Never mattered more than now, because now you can actually create some directions, some spots that create distance, and how nice to sprinkle some hand sanitizer out throughout the place. Considerations can be pretty dramatic. This is not a bookstore, obviously, but it does have some partitions and get us thinking about what's possible. We're doing these acrylic partitions for people and helping them reclaim their cafe and bistro areas, doing some college campus work, because if you can create the separation and the safety, either in a line or something, you can get people back in the spaces in some safe ways. At least that's a potential. So draw your own flow. Here's a thought stop. And ask yourself, how do you signal safe entry and safe flow through your store? Now let's talk about this touchable environment. We've always said that people are 73% more likely to buy, that's the research, something that they touch. So how can let's borrow from the healthcare and the children's education areas, and look at antimicrobial laminates. Say that again, antimicrobial laminates. They've been in use for many years. They come in dozens and dozens of colors. They're not that much more expensive than regular laminates, and there are cleaning protocols too with those. So the interesting thing, this is a laminate that kills 99.99% of germs and bacteria that touch it. So if I had a piece of this on a key touch point, I'd have a sign on it saying just that, and letting people know that we're thinking. We're doing some break rooms and such where we're like putting a new counter down over an old counter, something inexpensive that really signals thinking about safety. If you're in the market and doing something new right now, this is a good time to incorporate that into your plan. To consider new items and be able to advertise that you've been thoughtful in your children's areas and in your major touch points using those kind of laminates. We are all familiar with acrylics. They create visibility and protected-ishness. The lovely thing about cards is they're generally in some kind of sleeve anyway. So, and I love this card display because you can kind of see it. So we want to think about acrylics and just really everything. These shared games, everything that we've talked about creating community and bringing people closer and creating touch points and creating interaction. It's a bit different in this moment, and that's difficult. So lots of questions of safety in every environment and touch points, and between masks and disinfectant and other things. But we've all got different situations. Like this browser, do you put a sneeze guard on it, hand sanitizer next to it? How do you handle it? You're going to have to make those decisions based on your community, and look and think about everything. Think about pup touches, because everybody wants to pet this beautiful dog, and that's a potential no-no. Clothing touches and how clothing is displayed, seating, browsing. There's some beautiful sanitizer sources locally. We have a chemical company that has transitioned into making sanitizer, but you've got distilleries and wholesale suppliers popping up everywhere in bulk. And if you can be thoughtful about how you have those around, that'll be helpful. There's just so much to think about. Jeff Kinney's photo would look really different on our website today. But mentally or physically, just try to take a step back if you can. And you've given yourself this moment, so give yourself this moment to do that. A clean slate to consider what's the flow, how do you go through the space, and what are the touch points and where we want people to be. This is a great moment to leverage feature face-out shelves if you've got them. If you don't, they're a minimal investment, but they're shallow depths with high backs. And the idea is they bring it to the fore, bring your books into the light so that people can shop with their eyes. So we're really wanting to find ways, and if you don't have those kind of shelves, if you find other ways to bring the books forward, lots of face outs right now so that people can really browse with their eyes. So ask yourself, another thought stop, what are your biggest touch points, and what can you do to enhance safety and security at those points? Let's transition over to service and how do we make this welcoming and social and remain. I think our main goal is to demonstrate respect, civility, and Dave and I were talking last night, manners, just manners. And the word respect comes from spec, to look, and re again. So our opportunity with every person with whom we interact and within our spaces is to look again. Look at the opportunities, look at what we can build on, look at the relationships, and look at how our physical space demonstrates respect, civility, and good manners. And one of those is masks, because masks are really about taking care of others. It inevitably feels self-protective when we put them on, but they're as much about protecting someone else as they are ourselves. So let's make them fun and sell them too. Print masks with your logo or with a message. I think that matters so much, to say something with our masks, to say something that's intentional. You can do that local embroidery or online ordering, but reinforce your own policies with humor and consistency and a good dose of grace. Glass and acrylic in design, we've seen it in airports, we've seen it in other places. So as we think about things, spaces like this, we've got to ask ourselves, what do we do? Do we want to block it with an acrylic or keep it touchable in some way? Every solution is going to be custom for you. And just thinking about the forms that you can do hanging acrylics or you can do freestanding acrylics. We've seen frameless, and another thing, acrylics are becoming very rare and long lead times with high prices. An alternate is also a little more expensive, but it's polycarbonate. It's a little faster to get, and it's 250 times stronger than glass, 30 times greater than acrylic. So it's a very, very strong substance to work with. Another consideration that is easy to do and is considering partitioned approaches like the ones you see here, either tabletop or others, to create spaces for people. This is an inexpensive way to get people, people want to be private in public. And so thinking about those kind of things. So the thought stop for review, do you want to change your approach and flow? Think about your touch points, or think about the service mechanisms and your physical arrangements in service so that you can still have that relationship that you treasure and that you connect with. All right, we're moving to fixtures and how your fixtures have superpowers. 4 superpowers we're exploring. Shelves with their angle vision, tables that are waist high and know how to fly, or know how to help merchandise fly, wall systems that are power walls, and mobile units that are space transformers. We're looking for 3 things. Here's the job description. Think of each fixture like a silent sales force hire, each fixture, and ask it, are you doing your job? Are you doing everything you can in this moment to really help us put people in contact and connect them with these books? Do they have clarity and composition, comprehension, and connection? We're going to say those 3 C's. It's our 3 C's: clarity and composition, comprehension, and connection in all of our displays. So here's an example. On the left-hand side, you see a Birds of Paradise sort of display. It's got connected things. I know that at a glance. We all can see that is a display about birds. It's about exotic birds, and it makes me want to look carefully. People read top to bottom. So I'll see that blue bird book, not only because it's colorful and interesting, but I'll see it because it reads easily from the top, Birds of Paradise, to the bottom. On the right-hand side, also a really nice display of Black authors making and exploring history. Great collection of literature here. A little harder to see. It needs something. I think it needs perhaps some color flow, or perhaps a story that's told from top to bottom that helps you see it all at a glance. You know, if you can do an exercise and say, how many titles can you get in 5 seconds? Because we want to scan the environment so that we find the thing that really speaks to our heart and mind. Shelves and their superpower, angle vision. We've got a couple of photos in here from Magic City Books in Tulsa, and you notice the tilted bottom there gives angulation. So this young woman is looking at that bottom shelf. She's shopping it without bending down, which is really important, that people can scan the whole thing. We've got a quick question I'm going to take a look at to see. Vendors that are doing custom mass and cash payments. We'll look at those at the end. The vendors doing masks, I'll put some links up afterwards because there are a lot of them. Local embroidery places are my favorite places to go, but I'll be glad to send those. So back to the angle vision here with the shelves. We have angles in the T-shelves. The idea with the T-shelf and the angle is, you know, not only are you protecting the books, but you're creating an angle that is easy to shop with your eyes. So we're trying to create shopping that involves less touching with the hands and lets people take in more. This moment has the opportunity, or has the potential, to make us all better at what we normally do. And this is some of what we normally do that works. And in this moment, we need it to work really well. There are T-shelves like the ones you see at the top here. And then there are L shelves, and at the bottom a tilt shelf. In this example, if you've got those, make sure that the angles are positioned well and that you're constantly reconfiguring them to work with your merchandise. They need to stay fresh. Just like you want an employee to get dressed differently every morning, you probably want your shelves to do the same, because they bring a certain energy. And here's an example of two energy bits. The one on the left from Story and Song has a feature face out in the middle that is really bringing a lot of nice energy because of the way the light's meeting. This is a beautiful display as well. And you notice that this is an opportunity where face outs could help get things out of the shadows, because things don't sell in the shadows. And we want to supercharge your sales. We also want to transform the spaces. And the beautiful thing, if you've got mobile units, as most of us do in one way or another, you're moving them, have been moving them for events. Now think about moving them for a different flow in your store, and letting them be the guiding sales force that helps folks go through a flow. So use your mobile units strategically now more than ever. Here's more mobile units that show clarity and composition, comprehension, and connection. You can see the titles of the books easily. You can see the sections easily. You can look here and see where you need to go. That's the kind of clarity that we all strive for, isn't it? It doesn't have to be modern looking. It can look warm like this, and we probably are going to separate these chairs. But think about what else you're going to do in this moment, in this space, to keep it cozy while also making it clean and safe. That's not a fireplace, by the way. It's a beautiful use of just some electronic candles and a screen. So getting creative about spaces, you can do some safe things. Let's move to Waist High Will Fly. And interesting that the World War II Museum has some books about flying there. But waist high is anywhere from like 36 to 40 inches. We've done some amazing and fun research watching, and I invite you to do your own. Look at what happens at table height with your sales, and take the same books and put them someplace else at waist height. And waist height is stand up and look at your waist and that of someone a little taller or shorter than you. But it's a range of waist high. Waist high sells up. I'm seeing about 38% better sales with waist high than table high. But that's based on just a little bit of research. I'd like to do that more. But I've had a couple of experiences that were just dramatic. So I'm going to talk a lot about it. It's also a pattern language that was identified by Christopher Alexander in the pattern languages books about waist high. It's how we designed our kitchens. It's all of those things. And here in Magic City Books in Tulsa, again, you see those big square spinners. They've raised the books to waist height. And waist high, I think, is especially interesting here in the shelf unit itself, where we've got the cards at waist high. So we want to keep shopping waist high. Good example of waist high and angle views here, and how clear and good the composition is. I'm going to go just through a few visuals. Use your depths effectively. Look at how many different forms are in this picture, how many different depths. Angles connect with the eye, and things don't sell in the shadows. I keep saying that. But think about how you want to use your fixtures. In Whirlwind Books, they've got this wonderful brick slat wall that's a beautiful focal point and a great place to put some nice eye shopping. Story and Song is looking at all three. With this, there's a waist high. It's a little higher than waist high, but still a really good sales height with a wall, and you've got angulation. So think about what you've got. If you're not using your corners, you've got a tremendous opportunity in the corners. You can add money to your bottom line just by adding some sort of corner fixture. Doesn't have to be a professional fixture, but find a way to use your corners. And tables too. I encourage you to start with a blank slate. And if you've got tables that are at table height, or at table height, which is good because sometimes you're doing events and you want to do that, a riser can really give you the opportunity to take things to another height. A layered and collected look, if you've got lots of different fixtures from lots of different places, that's great. Just take a step back and think about what they need to do right now, what merchandise they need to carry, and be bold about rearranging things to work in this moment. You might just find whole new ideas. I love bookies. Makes me want to shop the cash wrap. But again, we've got this waist high an angled display. If you don't want people touching the counter, you can put things on the counter and create the space that you want them to be in from a safe standpoint. Again, we touch less when we can see more. So, but then again, we touch things that we're going to buy. You can see that one here and here at Wishing Tree. I love the messaging here that says, this is my happy place, and the idea that people would leave thinking about what we are in their society and carrying that with them. Impressions, there's opportunities for storytelling at the cash wrap. Again, we're kind of the point here is that we're using our shelves, we're using our angles to tell stories and to help people shop with their eyes. In every photo I've got of Magic City Books, someone is standing, either interacting with a book or standing back and looking at a full display, which tells me they're reading top to bottom. And that it's an easy read top to bottom, an integrated read top to bottom, so that you've got plushes and other things integrated. Here at Panasas, Karen is standing next to a couple of different waist-high options, a very important illustration there with the riser too. I'm going to move through some of these more quickly because of time, but the color flow that we see in the walls here, looking at the superpower of using your walls to create a wall story with color is really nice. This wall is built with color, so it's easy to add some things to it. I love this one, the wall system with a sweet voice. And look at the integrated merchandising here, and look at the creation of, we've got Pooh and Pat the Bunny, and we're moving forward with 2 or 3 different characters and their lives. That's a power wall to me. That's really going to encourage shopping. That's from my hair salon, but it's a beautiful illustration of just creating order and the ability to look at things and sort them quickly, like here. And, you know, a card spinner is something that we're all going to touch in lots of ways, but it's also not going to sell as well as something that lets your cards spread out. They carry an energy and an organization that's just really powerful, and you'll shop top to bottom. If you've got an interesting wall like they do in Politics and Prose, using that for online display and to really help people guide their eyes not only in person, but also online, you can do that. You can add a base to slat wall and think about color. I love the color flow and the texture in these displays. I'm going to move through some of these and move to the care model quickly. The care model is about crafting, aligning with rigor and energy. This is a model of renewal for your space. And it came from a lot of conversations with my new friend Lisa Gazashti of Brookline Booksmith. During this time, we were meeting and we started talking about these spaces and kind of came up with this idea that what we're doing is we're trying to care. We're trying to create a care space, a craft, aligned space with rigor and energy. What do we mean craft? We want to craft your thank you space. This picture was a pop-up that Brookline Booksmith did, and she showed me this picture and told me the story of how people walked into this space and just breathed and said thank you. They were so grateful to be in a safe haven, a beautiful space, and that's what you're offering today, right? We're creating a thank you space. So let's think about that. What does your personal thank you space look like? I want you to take just a second and think about, in your mind, where is your thank you space? What does it look like? Mine is at the bottom of the hill, right here with where I live, and it's with the trees. And the question is, how do you translate that feeling into your store? In today's environment, what do people need? So in your mind, you've got your thank you space. Think about what it has in it. Mine has a lot of green. Mine has a lot of air. I want to bring those elements in. So how do we translate that into this box that you've drawn on your piece of paper? How do you take your thank you space? What do people need? Do they need space to breathe, to look at pools of light? Do they need to bring the outside in and see freshness and flowers and plants? Do they, what do they need to feel engaged? Christine, Kate Hooley, and Allie of Still North Books, recently crafted a thank you space. And they had to think in the midst of what we're going through about the arrival space and a place to breathe and how this would look. And when they started the plan, we didn't have a pandemic. And as they did the plan and thought about seating areas and such, they had to rethink some of what they were doing. But they did create a thank you space. This big table obviously works differently now, but the wall on the right-hand side with the circle is a beautiful place to shop with your eyes. And the place feels clean and aligned and easy to shop. So it's possible. I love the pendant lights. I like the colors. It's a soothing space. We need that space right now to say, hey, we're all thinking about this in the same way, or we're in alignment. I read a book like 5 seconds at a time during this time by Daniel Pink. Love this book. And in the almost toward the end, the very end, is a powerful concept called syncing or alignment. And he talks about things like rowing or making dinner as a family, and how we need, or singing in a choir, how we need that feeling of being in sync and being in alignment. So the tough question is, how aligned are you as a staff? How aligned are you with your customers? And how is that alignment reflected in your merchandising and in your storytelling? You can't be perfect, because none of us can. It's being aligned and in sync is a practice, just like rowing is a practice. And we're in various stages of it. We're somewhere between we're all in this together and misaligned, this whole PPE disconnect that we have. What's beautiful is to watch folks like Donna and Story and Song talk about what's important to us right now and how they do it. What messages do we want to give to customers? What our customers need from us right now? I think right now my Millie needs to be let in, but that's not going to happen. But what messages do we want to give customers, and how are we doing that on our Facebook messages? How are we creating this alignment out there? Mainly, what do customers need to hear from you right now? Because creating that safe space is a lot about perception. It's a lot about the words that we use. We've got beautiful words in the books, but creating that space, it also requires editing rigor, facilitating an experience by taking things away. I'm really bad to want to put everything on a table. And the rigor is about taking things away so that you tell good stories, so that it makes sense. You have to be able, Books of Wonder did a beautiful job on this one, and I've forgotten who the attribution is for the other, but they're both, it's easy to see this is a story of Sesame Street and Cookie Monsters and Elmo and Abby and all those. You can see the connection easily and at a glance. So the rigor question is, how do you have the stamina to have the rigor to really facilitate storytelling in your display? Here's a great one that I love this one, and how the bugs and the fish and the dinosaurs, but look at the greenery there, and look at the plushes and how it reads top to bottom. You can see a lot of books at one time, and it just feels nice. And I think that's the kind of experience we've got to create in this moment to really engage and be better than we've ever been. There's 3 really good stories here told in display. But think about storytelling like an author would think about storytelling. And you can't tell everyone's story. You just need to tell someone's story. One story. It's so much more powerful than if you're trying to tell everyone's story. And if you've got slat wall, like on the right, you can tell a story of, that has cards and books and tea and tell that story. Or in the middle, if you've got a tabletop and you want to tell a story for 2 people on an island, then you've got that story to tell. You want to create energy with your story, that it sparkles, enlightens, quiets, and soothes. I've wondered why this phrase, why now? We're in this together. We're in this together. Even our technology says you are connected. We need connection. And if there's one bit of encouragement I can offer you from a Franklin Fixture standpoint, we've never been busier. There is such confidence in the community, I think, in libraries, in bookstores, in college stores, and in museums. Those who are acting with confidence, there's a lot of it, because we recognize that though we've found really cool ways to be connected here, we also have a need to be connected physically. So a couple of energy questions for you, thought questions. How would you describe the energy that emanates from your space online? And how about in store? How does that compare? Are you in alignment? I asked that question myself and found that we weren't. We create spaces, but online it looks like we create fixtures. And I wanted to convey something different, so we're working on that. What's the energy and experience you're after? And how are you crafting that? And can your displays, and how can your displays and staff create that energy? Dave and I were talking about this, and he had the insight that we are the energy. We bring the energy. There has to be a kind of energy and a kind of safety and security for these two youngsters to feel comfortable sitting in the floor reading a book, for that to be okay. And today they're going to probably be wearing a mask. But it's the energy. And with the mask, it's a different energy. But perhaps it's a moment of interior energy. You know, the experience of being with a book is a sacred personal experience. And by shutting off all of the need to talk and the communication with the masks, maybe we're creating something even better, a place of privacy for someone to really look at books in peace and to really spend the time that they need to spend as a moment of interiority, like you're seeing here. We've had this in the past. We will have this in our present and future. So looking at energy and thinking purposefully about energy and how you create it, and what energy experience you're after. Dave and I found this fun at Story and Song. Someone had done this beautiful art, but it conveyed the kind of energy. You can display and craft your energy. Here is exactly the same fixture, merchandised lightly, admittedly, in two different ways, but it has a very different energy, right and left, based on what's there. So think about the light, think about the face out, the energy, the organization. Symmetry creates an energy, as well as color and literal and virtual life. Pictures of flowers create an energy into your display. They light it up. They make it feel safe and fresh and new. We're in the summertime. This is a time that feels safe and celebratory. And there's a practical energy on the face outs too with the color. This is a good example because it looks bad. and it's bare. We actually created it. We had tornadoes March 3rd that were quite a big deal here. And our wonderful bookstore community sent us books that we could distribute to folks. And I was just so incredibly touched by this. But we took those books and put them into shelves in our break area to be able to sort them out. And I took a picture of this because it doesn't look very purposeful. It wasn't. But this is not about the number of books. It's really about how you use those shelves and tell the stories. And speaking of energy, you have to be given a money tree, I'm told, but we were given one, and it was quite small. And when COVID hit, it literally lost all its leaves. And this is it today. It's looking nice. I hope that's portentous of good things, not only for Franklin, of course, but for each of us in this community. I really believe that good things are in store. That look at the way folks have flocked to bookstores during this moment. So a brief review. The care model is about crafting, being purposeful about that thank you space, aligning with each other, with the staff. What are we about? What are we saying in this moment? Addressing your shelves with rigor and being intentional about the energy. Your fixtures have superpowers to help you create that energy with angle vision, waist-high tables, and display power wall systems with color flow and mobility for space transformation. Remember this Lean Six Sigma and the 8 Waste, and a good way to investigate being more productive in your online fulfillment. And the big safety 3, approach and flow, touch points, and service points. How people get to your store, how they feel about it before they get in their car, before they drive to your destination. They need to have a good feeling that they're going to a good place that is thought about them. And remembering that our needs, your needs have a hierarchy and theirs do too. So I have always thought I was helping people live their best lives, and being in situations the past 5 years as an owner of the company, and you know this truth deeply, that you can't go on vacation from this. You can't leave this. It's in your head, it's in your heart all the time. And your customers are coming in exactly the same way. So let's be patient with each other, and remember that we're addressing those physiological and safety needs first, because without them, we can't do any of the rest. So think about your place. And my challenge to you is to pick one thing, only one thing that you want to try, that you want to try to do differently or think about differently. And you heard Millie at the door a minute ago. She wanted to know if you have questions, and so do I. So I see there's 3 on here. The vendors doing custom masks, Callie, I found a couple online, and Joy in our organization can send you a couple of links, and I'll be glad to do that. We can also post it. And cash payments, does that make your store look reckless? Whew. What do you think? I think we have to recognize sometimes that cash payment is the only way someone can pay. And so there's a reality of that. So if we accept cash payments, I think we have to do that in a very purposeful way. I mean, I think you really have to think through how you handle cash and what you do before and after, and being very intentional about that. Images of stores that have been retrofitted for COVID with sneeze guards, signage, and one-way aisles, etc. Actually, no, I don't, but I would love some. And I'm in the best learning position in the country, because, in my opinion, or one of them, Heather's probably in a better one, but we get to work with 8 to 10 stores across the country every month, and we get to see so many great ideas. And in doing this workshop, I'm hoping that you'll show me some images, and I can show others what others are doing, because that's really the kind of connection that we're trying to create, specifically around the physical store. So we've got several that are in place, but I'm not sure where. I'm going to turn back off my mic and there, so I can hear Heather again. So I see you. I can't hear you yet.
That's because I was still muted.
There you go. Okay.
I'm interested. Kelsey just asked the group if anyone was accepting cash payments, and the response was one person was, no, but they've made a few exceptions. One person is yes. So I would say that's a really interesting question.
Yes.
And I feel like Lisa's point would be so well taken, that some people don't have credit and some people don't have the ability to pay any other way besides cash. So that's a good thing for us to be thinking about. I will do a little research on that myself and see if I can send some stuff out to the group. It looks like we might have another question, Lisa. Let's see what that is. Author events. That is a good question. Lisa, have you heard about any stores that are doing in-store author events yet? I know I've heard of a couple.
Well, a couple, but very small, distant author events. I think at this moment we've seen more success with the online collaboration and author events, and what I've seen there is an astounding level of participation, and kind of a new find for someone being in the store. Brookline Booksmith did, and I'm going to forget all of the names. They were on a different platform, and they partnered with 2 or 3 other stores, or one other store, and they did a beautiful event, and it was from in-store, and I think they had an amazing attendance that was exponentially more than they would have had in store. So I think our stores right now are not going to be event spaces until we have more confidence about what that looks like, until we see events elsewhere. But that opens a whole new thing. Yeah.
It does. And Leora, I would say, in answer to your specific question, I don't think it's too early to think about it. to start thinking about how to host an event in your store, because when those are coming, I mean, it depends on where you live. There are some states in our region that are not going to be ready to be doing that because their COVID numbers are going up dramatically every day. But there are some states in our region where that is not the case, and they're going down, and the safety measures are much different. So the stores that I've seen online that have hosted in-store events, of course, everyone has a mask. The lines, they're socially distancing inside the store, or they've done them outside at a
outside. Yeah,
everyone is masked, and so I think if the question is it too early to think about it? I think no, it's never too early to start thinking about it.
Well, and that's been our observation. Dave and I were talking about the idea that it felt like everybody, we all kind of, and I'll include ourselves, we all kind of went into a stunned sleep for a few weeks, and how do we survive this, and what's it going to mean, and what do we do, and hindsight being 2020, the 1st of June, a lot of people said, I want everything by July 1st, So I think it's never too early to think through what you want your future to look like. And the outdoor events, I will say this on the fixture and physical things. If you develop a reputation of an organization that is being cognizant and careful about keeping people safe, and that's what you're really doing, then you'll be able to kind of lead the way among the society that cares about that. And the physical fixtures, if they tell good stories, they can really help with sales. If you do an outside events and people coming in and masks, I mean, I think we need to find ways to do events and then to bring them into the store so that they can browse safely and really, we're depending on events differently. Right. So the store has to carry more weight.
Lisa, there is another question that came into the chat that was, she would like to know where to get the antimicrobial laminate. So if you have a link that you could send her for more or put in the chat for more information, or if you want me to just send an email out, we'd love to be able to make that available to everyone.
Yeah, well, typically they're sold through anybody who does Wilson Art and Formica are sites you can Google, and you can just Google the word antimicrobial laminate and you'll see all the choices. But I'll be glad to post, I can't type easily here, but I can wilsonart.com, and you type antimicrobial and you'll see some of the things. We also have on our website on Franklin Fixtures, we have a Connect that has about 3 pages on the antimicrobial, all the spec sheets and information. You can get it with anyone who is making things, making countertops or otherwise, and we're happy to make them as well. But it was kind of a neat aha, because it was like, this is an easy fix for a lot of places. Tabletops that are now, if you change out the tabletop and keep the base and just put a new top or a new top on the existing top and say with a little sign, this is an antimicrobial, it truly will protect everybody who's working with that space and hopefully help people open back up.
That's great. Yeah. Really great. All right. Is there any more questions before we wrap up? I'm seeing in the chat, let's see. Someone said about the cash. Yes, to be very mindful about hand sanitizer after touching cash, which that's great. Having hand sanitizer at your counters obviously will let your customers use that before touching their cash, and also, back and forth. Let's see. I will say to our group that's online that someone posted that MEBA and GLEBA did a presentation about online author events yesterday, which I'm sure that there's a link to that on their websites, which we can make available. But I do want to just emphasize that all of the programming that MPIBA is putting out for our booksellers is available to every region's booksellers, and that is vice versa. So if you're ever seeing CEBA or MEBA or GLEBA or CALIBA and any of the associations putting on something, please feel free to attend those things. All of us are being very, of course, sharing with our programming. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, and we did. I did 5 workshops for Book Expo that were around fixtures and around safety and some of these topics. And I think those are still on the Book Expo website. They're also on our website. So if there's more information, if you want to, those are each about 45 minutes, and there are 5 of them. They all have a deeper dive. And my email here, I welcome individual things. I'm learning, and we're all learning together. What I love most about being in this community and being a part of this community is what you just said, Heather, the way everyone shares things. And because we're really not in it for ourselves, we're really in it to create a better society, a better space to live in, and for all of us. And thank you for this summer camp. I haven't been to summer camp since 8th grade, so I love it. And it's a lot of fun. It's good to have fun ideas in this moment. Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here for this wonderful presentation. It will be, as I said to earlier in the chat, Lisa's presentation will be live on our website, the recording for anyone to reference in the future, and for everyone who wasn't able to join us today. So Lisa, thank you again. Thanks to Franklin Fixtures, and thanks for everyone who could be here today. We appreciate it.